I was sitting on a cold bathroom floor, back pressed against the wall, trying not to cry because, well, crying felt weak. I had just walked out of a meeting where I was talked over, dismissed, and told I was too sensitive. I remember gripping my wrist tightly, not to hurt myself, but just to feel something firm, when everything inside felt like it was caving in. And in that quiet, tiled room, I whispered a question I think many of us have asked. What is wrong with me? But what if I told you nothing was wrong with me, and nothing is wrong with you either? What I didn't know back then was that the thing I thought made me too sensitive was the exact thing that would become my superpower, and yours too. The most powerful trait of truly confident people isn't bravado. It's not being the loudest in the room. It's not fake it till you make it. The most powerful trait of truly confident people is, if this message speaks to something tender and true in you, I invite you to like, comment, and share. Let's keep creating brave spaces together where honesty, growth, and real connection are always welcome. There's a moment that lives in my memory like it happened yesterday. I was 14. I had just come home from school, heart aching, eyes burning from holding back tears all day. Someone had made fun of my laugh, said it was too loud, too weird, that I laughed at things that weren't even funny. It hit me in a place I didn't even know was tender. And so, the next day, I stopped laughing in public. Just like that. Not because I wasn't happy, but because I didn't want to be too much, too visible, too anything. Looking back now, I can see that something small but sacred was lost in that moment. I stopped letting myself be seen. Not just my laugh, but the quirky, honest, messy fullness of who I was. And I know I'm not alone in that. Many of us have learned to edit ourselves to be more palatable. We shrink the parts of us that might be too different. We dial down our sparkle. We raise our walls. All because, at some point, maybe in a classroom, a boardroom, a living room, we got the message that being fully ourselves was somehow unsafe. But here's what no one told us growing up. True confidence isn't about finally becoming someone impressive. It's about having the courage to be seen exactly as you are. It's not the loudest person in the room. It's the one who no longer needs to perform for approval. The one who's done contorting themselves into someone they were never meant to be. And I know it sounds simple, but let's not pretend it's easy, because being seen means risking rejection. It means letting people witness your awkwardness, your fear, your uncertain middle chapters, not just your highlight reel. It means saying, here I am, not perfect, not polished, just real. And maybe some people won't get you. That's okay. Because being truly confident isn't about convincing people you're worthy. It's about knowing it in your bones, even when they don't see it. And that kind of knowing, it's not built in one triumphant moment. It's built in 100 tiny ones. Like choosing to wear what feels like you, even if it's not trendy. Like speaking up when your voice shakes. Like laughing freely, even when someone once told you not to. Each of those moments is a quiet rebellion against the idea that we have to earn our right to take up space. So if you've ever looked in the mirror and wondered if you're too much or not enough, I want to tell you something that might feel radical. You don't need to fix yourself. You need to face yourself with kindness. You need to come out of hiding. Because the world doesn't need another version of what's already out there. It needs your you-ness. In the deep, grounded bravery of saying, this is me. This is my laugh, my voice, my rhythm, my weird, my softness, my fire. And I won't keep tucking it away to make you comfortable. Confidence is not about proving yourself. It's about being yourself, out loud, without apology. And I promise, when you stop dimming your light to fit in, you'll start to shine in ways you never thought possible. That's not ego, that's alignment. That's home. We live in a world that tells us to be strong, but often what the world means by strong is unshakable, untouchable, unbreakable. It teaches us that confidence looks like control, like having sharp edges, quick answers, and never letting them see you flinch. But here's the truth, no one really tells us. Real strength isn't in being hard. It's in being soft on purpose. Let me tell you about a moment I'll never forget. I was sitting across from a friend who had just lost someone they deeply loved. They weren't crying, they weren't saying much. They were just quiet, empty-eyed, staring at the floor. I sat beside them, not knowing what to say, and then they reached out and touched my hand. Not tightly, not desperately, just a soft press. A silent, trembling reach for connection. And in that moment, I realized something life-changing. Confidence is not walking in and taking charge. Sometimes, confidence is sitting in silence and holding space for someone else's pain. Sometimes, confidence is not knowing what to say, but choosing to stay anyway. The truly confident person doesn't need to dominate the room. They're the ones rooted enough in themselves to remain kind, even when kindness isn't returned. They're the ones who don't see gentleness as a liability, but as a powerful gift. You see, it's easy to be kind when everything is going well, but to be soft when life is sharp, that takes another kind of courage. There's a reason trees that bend in the wind are less likely to break. That flexibility, that give, it doesn't mean they're weak. It means they know how to survive storms. People who confuse loudness for leadership or confidence for domination often miss this deeper wisdom. Softness is not submission. Softness is not passivity. Softness is intentional grace. It's choosing not to mirror someone's cruelty. It's responding with truth, not just reaction. It's holding your ground without needing to shout. The most powerful people I've ever met have an unmistakable calm about them. They walk into chaos and bring clarity. They don't flail to be seen, they see. They don't raise their voices, they raise the level of presence in the room. Because truly confident people aren't in a race to prove anything. They've already arrived at themselves. And that's why they can afford to be gentle. They know their worth doesn't shrink when they offer grace. They know their voice isn't weaker because it's not wrapped in noise. They know that softness isn't the opposite of strength, it's the evidence of it. So if you've ever been told you're too sensitive, too emotional, too soft-hearted, I want to offer this reframe. You are strong enough to stay open. You are brave enough to feel deeply in a world that numbs. You are courageous enough to bring tenderness where others bring defense. And in a culture addicted to performance and power, that is the quietest kind of revolution. You don't need to armor up to be taken seriously. You need only to stand in your truth. With soft shoulders and a steady voice. Let your gentleness be your legacy. Let your softness be your superpower. Because real confidence doesn't push, it invites. There's a quiet moment most people never see. It's the moment just after you've made a decision that puts you at odds with what's normal. The moment you speak a truth you've outgrown hiding. The moment you turn away from the crowd. Not out of rebellion, but because your soul won't let you keep pretending anymore. That's where real confidence gets tested. Not when you're being cheered, not when you're being praised, but when you are standing alone and standing anyway. We like to believe that confidence is this roaring presence, this bold, magnetic energy, and sometimes it is, but more often, it's quiet, it's lonely. It's the strength to walk away from what once felt safe but now feels small. I think of a client I once worked with, a woman who had spent most of her life being the good girl. She smiled when she was uncomfortable, agreed when she wanted to scream, stayed when everything in her wanted to leave. One day, she looked at me through tears and said, "I'm exhausted from being everything to everyone except myself." And maybe you've been there too. When you've been conditioned to believe that approval equals love, breaking free from the need to be liked can feel like emotional withdrawal. It's terrifying to risk disconnection, to risk being misunderstood, to risk people saying, "You've changed." But here's the thing, you are changing. You're growing. You're shedding the version of yourself that was built for survival. not authenticity. And that change, that evolution, it will almost always ask you to walk alone for a while, because the road back to yourself often requires leaving behind what was never really yours. Truly confident people don't seek loneliness, but they are not afraid of it. They've learned that sometimes the price of inner peace is outer distance. They've learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself is say, I won't keep dimming who I am just to belong to a place that doesn't see me. That's not selfish. That's sacred. And yes, it's hard. You might sit in a quiet room some nights and wonder if you made the wrong call. You might feel the sting of isolation when others don't understand your choices. You might feel heartbreak when someone you once loved doesn't recognize you anymore. But every time you choose to stay true to your values instead of bending to fit someone else's mold, you build an unshakable foundation inside yourself. You begin to trust your own voice, and eventually something shifts. You stop begging for seats at tables where you're only tolerated. You stop trying to prove your worth to people who don't know how to hold it. You stop asking, what do I need to do to be enough? And you start asking, where do I feel most like myself? That's what confident people understand. They're not trying to be the favorite. We're not trying to be the favorite. They're trying to be free. And when you're free, you attract the kind of relationships, opportunities, and life rhythms that feel like alignment, not performance. So if you find yourself in a season of solitude, take heart. Sometimes walking alone isn't a punishment. It's a preparation. You're not losing people. You're finding yourself. You're learning that being alone with your truth is better than being surrounded by people who love your mask. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. There's a story I once heard about an old potter who crafted the most beautiful clay bowls in her tiny mountain workshop. Each one was slightly different: wobbly edges, asymmetrical patterns, little cracks here and there. People would ask her, why don't you make them smoother, more perfect? And she'd just smile and say, because I'm not afraid of people seeing my process. That phrase lives in my chest now. Because we live in a world obsessed with presentation, but truly confident people are at peace with their process. Here's the truth that took me years to understand. Confidence isn't knowing everything. It's being open enough to keep learning. We've been sold this idea that the more you know, the more you're worth. That the one who has the most answers is the one who leads. But I've come to believe that real leadership, real strength, real confidence is having the humility to say, I was wrong. I didn't know that. I'm still figuring it out. Because the person who cannot be questioned is not confident. They're fragile. Truly confident people are not afraid to evolve. They're not afraid to examine their own biases, their past choices, their former selves. They don't view growth as shameful. They see it as sacred. They're not defensive about what they didn't know yesterday. They're proud of what they're learning today. Let me be honest with you. There was a time in my life when I thought being right was the same as being respected. I'd double down in arguments, twist my words to sound wiser, try to protect this image I had of being the one who gets it. But what I was really protecting was my insecurity. It wasn't until I started letting myself be seen learning, seen changing, seen stumbling, that I realized something. People don't connect with your perfection. They connect with your progress. The most confident people I've met, they're the ones who ask curious questions. They don't walk into rooms needing to be the smartest. They walk in ready to be the most open. They're students of life forever. They know that confidence isn't a finish line you cross. It's a mindset, a way of being, a willingness to keep stepping into unfamiliar spaces and saying, teach me. And they know this too. You don't have to be confident because you have all the answers. You can be confident because you trust yourself to grow into them. That kind of humility, that kind of grounded self-trust, it's rare. Because it means letting go of the mask of expertise and embracing the mess of becoming. It means knowing that your dignity is not diminished by change, it's deepened by it. It means realizing that admitting you were wrong doesn't make you smaller. It makes you stronger, because it means you're brave enough to choose truth over pride. Confidence is not about defending the ego, it's about honoring the journey. And when you stop needing to appear perfect, you open yourself up to become powerful in the truest sense, not because you have nothing left to learn, but because you are no longer afraid to learn it. So I'll say this to you gently, but clearly. If you're growing, if you're learning, if you're shifting, you are not behind. You are becoming. There's a moment that changes everything. It's not loud. It doesn't happen on a stage or in front of an audience. It usually happens late at night, maybe in your kitchen, maybe in your car, maybe in front of the bathroom mirror, when no one else is watching. It's the moment when you look yourself in the eyes and whisper, I don't need to become someone else to be proud of who I am. That moment, that's where true confidence is born. Not in applause, not in titles, not in validation, but in self-acceptance. You see, the most powerful trait of the truly confident has nothing to do with being the best, the brightest, the boldest in the room. It's something quieter, more enduring, more rare. The most powerful trait of the truly confident is self-compassion. Let that sink in for a moment. Because in a world that teaches us to hustle, to compare, to achieve until we are worthy, self-compassion is radical. It's a refusal to participate in our own shame. It's the daily decision to treat yourself like someone who deserves love, even on your worst days. And let me be honest, it's not glamorous work. Self-compassion isn't about spa days or affirmation quotes. It's about how you talk to yourself when you fail. It's about the voice you use in your own head when you drop the ball, when you don't get it right, when you disappoint someone you care about. It's about this question. When things fall apart, do you abandon yourself or do you stay close? Truly confident people, they stay close. They know they're not invincible, but they are valuable. They know they'll fall short sometimes, but they refuse to tie their worth to performance. They know they won't always be understood, but they won't betray themselves just to fit in. They offer themselves grace on the days that feel heavy, and they show up anyway, not because they feel perfect, but because they know they are whole, even when they are hurting. That's the kind of strength the world needs more of. We don't need more people who fake perfection. We need more people who are honest about their imperfections and still show up with their hearts open. You see, self-compassion builds something deeper than confidence. It builds trust. When you stop abandoning yourself when things get hard, you start to believe, I can handle this. I can handle me. That belief, that's the anchor in every storm. Confidence isn't about eliminating fear. It's about walking forward with fear in one hand and self-kindness in the other. It's about creating a home within yourself that you never have to leave to feel loved. So if you're looking for confidence, don't just look outward. Don't wait for someone to name you worthy. Don't chase the version of yourself you think the world will finally approve of. Start here. Start with the moment you choose not to shame yourself for your past. Start with the moment you offer gentleness to the part of you that still feels uncertain. Start with the moment you stop asking, am I enough? And start saying, I am already enough to be kind to myself. Because that kind of inner gentleness, it will take you farther than any applause ever could. That's not weakness, that's power. If this spoke to something deep inside you, share it with someone you love. Leave a comment below. What does true confidence mean to you? Subscribe for more soul-deep conversations. We're not here to go viral. We're here to go real. Let's grow together.